And this talk is called How to Market and Fill a Profitable Coaching Service Within Your Gym. Now, the reason I specifically created this talk for this specific event is after coming to 3 of these events, the majority of people in the room tend to just have a gym with just a low gym membership base, and that's the only stream of income they have for their gym. However, they're missing out on massive opportunity for growth, more revenue and profit within the business purely by just adding a higher level coaching service within the gym. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. I've got a guest with me here, Terry, who I'm going to sit down with later and speak to, but I'm just going to kind of intro. I've got about 5 slides and we'll just jump in, have an open conversation. If anyone here has any questions, and feel free just to jump in and we can just have a nice, good, open conversation there. Cool. So when a gym owner is looking to increase income in their business, they tend to try and do things like supplementation, t-shirts, merchandise. Now, this does add some revenue into the business, but it doesn't really scratch the surface in comparison to the revenue created by gym memberships, right? However, when you create a business within a business and create a high-level coaching service in the gym, that's when the revenue really starts to match up to the gym membership revenue. And again, we're going to dive in and look at those numbers there as well. Now, a lot of gym owners actually do have some form of coaching service in the business, but they do this the old way, which is they will rent the gym to a PT and allow them to grow their business within those 4 walls. Now, the only pro of this in my eyes is that you get some quick money, you take the money from them, and then you don't have to deal with it or have to deal with the headache. But really, there's more cons than pros. One of them is quality control. Even if you're not necessarily associated with that PT directly as a brand, if that PT provides a poor service within your 4 walls, that affects the brand reputation. That's number 1. Number 2 is quite a common one that many gym owners have probably experienced, which is that the PT will come into the gym, build their business, take the revenue from that business, and then they will leave, become your competition, and they've taken your members for the pleasure. So you haven't really received any benefit there. And then finally, it's just the revenue. You're missing out on so much revenue when you let that individual grow the business with inside your gym. The new way is you own the client. You take the revenue, you take the profit, and you distribute the revenue to the staff member to run the sessions for you. That way you can have quality control, knowing that every single session you run is to a high standard. But not only that, you get to, again, take the revenue, take the profit, and just own the clients. And those clients have brand association to you rather than the personal individual. So they're not likely to pick up and leave with that personal trainer there. Now, meet Terry. Here's a photo of him on screen. Here's a 3-dimensional version of Terry on stage here as well, so you can pick which one you like. So Terry owns the Pride Gym in Bradford. It's 11,500 square foot, and it has 750 members. Now, when Terry first signed up to FMA, it was early 2021, kind of that second lockdown area, and initially Terry wanted more gym members. That's what he came here for. And we told Terry, there's a better way to make more profit and grow the business. And I think it's also fair to say that Terry was a little bit skeptical of that initial coaching service. He didn't really like the idea of it, but he stuck through, he implemented, and he's been able to massively grow the business and actually expand the gym very recently, which we'll go into a little bit later as well. So also just to mention, it's $29.99 for Terry's gym membership. And this is a picture of Terry's coaching group here. This is a handful of the clients, all waving, all smiling, all happy to be there. And another point to make of why you should all be looking to implement a coaching service into your gym right now is if you're just a gym with a low-end gym membership, it's near impossible to compete with Pure Gym or any other 24-hour gym. They will outprice you, they will outconvenience you, and they can just pay for more equipment, provide better equipment than you. You're not going to beat them on those fronts. The area where you can compete and you can win is community. And I'll repeat that. The area that you can compete and you can win is community. So when you have a small group training program inside the gym where people are meeting up at the same session at the same time, moving towards their goals together, that creates relationships, that creates trust, and in turn that creates community, which massively increases retention, and I'll say it again, increases revenue and profit there as well. A little gold nugget here, if anyone wants to take this. This was an ad we ran for one of Terry's campaigns. For West Yorkshire women, transform your fitness in 2022. It worked phenomenally well. Feel free to take that idea, use it. It will work very, very well. So let's kind of jump in some of the numbers of Terry's new business within the gym. 80 large group members at £97. 30 small group members at 167. So Terry has 750 members plus 110 within this coaching service. Now let's kind of go a little bit deeper in the numbers there. Just 30 small group members at 167 equals 166 gym members. Now think how long it took you to get your last 166. Or actually think how long it took you to get your last 255 members in the gym. That's 80 large group members at £97. Your cost per acquisition, regardless of the price of the service, is going to equal the same whether it's a low-end or a high-end offer. This way you just make more profit with each client from the front end all the way to the back end there as well. And by implementing this business within the business, Terry's revenue from these higher-end training programs equates to over 50% of the original revenue from the gym members. So that's massive growth inside the business. So if you haven't already, this is a big reason of why you should. Terry's not the only FMA member we've helped. This here is Paul. He owns 3 gyms around Cambridge, 75 academy members in 6 months. His other venue, about 80 in the same time frame as well. But that's just kind of a quick intro. I'm going to sit down with Terry. We're just going to have an open chat, have a little bit of a kind of a case study conversation, and just go really under the bonnet and under the hood of the business. So, Terry, first of all, thank you for coming all the way down from Bradford to come and see us today and kind of speak about what you've done with your coaching service here. So I think the best place to start is just how you got into the industry and how you became a gym owner.
So I'm not traditionally like a lot of people in the room would be. I'm not a PT. I've not been a personal trainer or anything like that. I was in the forces. I was an engineer. I always had a passion for fitness. I always went to gyms, and I got into the business I was working away and I got really bored and just started business planning really, and ended up opening a gym in December 2018.
Yeah, and you've actually just expanded the gym. So I think it's now 11,500 square foot. What was it before?
So when we opened, we were at 5,000.
Yeah.
And then at the end of COVID, when we went with you guys, we expanded to 7,500 to create space to do group training. And then obviously from what we've done in the group training, we've been able to expand again.
And I think it's also important to remember that when you initially decided to do group training, you actually had that spare space in the gym, right? And now you've expanded, so you've got a group training area, the gym area, and now a small group area that's a bit more private. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we run small group training for women over 50. But in parallel, we're able to run large group training for mixed sessions, mainly women from sort of 30 upwards in the larger area which we've expanded. So that means we can sort of run 2 revenue streams at once in the peak period rather than one where we're quite constrained. And then we've also got a larger gym area now as well.
Awesome. And the reason I asked that question is that everyone here who has a gym has space that is losing money because they don't have this business within the gym. Most gyms that I've visited have a dedicated space where you can run either group training or small group training and utilize the space so much better. So within the gym, within the small group training element, like how many members do you have on the team? So it's you, your partner, and who else is on the team?
Yeah, so there's me and my wife that run a lot of the onboarding and admin, as well as one of the gym staff members who do that. And then we have self-employed coaches who run sessions, as well as my wife who runs some sessions as well. So we just pay them at an hourly rate, which is probably lower than what they charge for PT. But again, they've got that guaranteed recurring income, so they can run the sessions. But again, because they're working for us in those sessions, we can sort of implement quality control. We can make sure the sessions are running how we want them, etc., etc.
Amazing. And 750 gym members, like how long did it take you to get to that number? Again, no COVID would have slowed things down, but how long did it take to get to that number initially?
So post the first lockdown, we'd gone back down to around sort of 400, and then we managed to gradually build up to sort of 750. A lot of that 750 are actually people that have finished on the programs that can't afford it, that then move on to gym membership as well. So you kind of get them in on a higher yielding membership, but you still don't really lose them because you've got that sort of safety net of a normal gym membership, if that makes sense.
And that's such a good point that Terry's made there. So if you have just one option, then this is going to sound really simple. There's only one option to go for, right? If you have a low offer, a medium offer, and a high offer, then there are people that are going to want to take that higher service and are happy to pay more just because the offer's here. So by not having that higher offer, you're just losing out on that income. And again, if people don't want to continue with that, they can just drop down to a lower program and still maintain in the gym and be part of the community and just go on that offer there. So by just having one option, and I don't mean, by the way, like a £30, a £40, a £50 membership that one comes with like unlimited classes. I mean a gym membership, group coach-led sessions, small group coach-led sessions that are actually considerably higher priced. Then again, it's just providing that option to the marketplace that they didn't have before. So kind of, it would be great to touch on about kind of when you kind of found out about FMA, starting the process and kind of building the coaching service. Because again, I think the best place to start was, you're a bit skeptical. What were the reasons that you didn't want to do it? Because there's probably people here thinking about that who have a gym who might want to add in a service, but there's a lot of hesitation. So what were yours initially?
So I went to FMA to try and grow my gym membership, mine 29.99 members. My hesitation was what you guys were sort of saying to me about doing group training. I thought that would cannibalise what we do, in that we offered gym classes included in the membership, like a lot of places might do, so we had a gym timetable. What we had to do when we came on board with you eventually and took the risk to do so is we removed a lot of gym classes but added in the group training. But our first market for doing the group training was to our current members at a discounted rate. So straight away we had a full program doing a higher service, which then we could then upsell and just retain at a higher yield per month.
Yeah, another really great point there. So I don't know how many gym members you guys have in the room. Terry has 750, maybe you have 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. Is there 10% of those members that are willing to pay £100 to £200 a month that are paying much lower? The answer is yes. So when you launch that first program, you don't even need to externally market. There's people within your community right now that want a higher service, that are happy to pay you more. And with just a few emails, conversations around the gym, you can fill up that first intake pretty quickly with zero acquisition cost and just upgrade those members. And again, if after, whether it's a 6-week or an 8-week initial program, they want to go back down, they can just go back down to the membership. There's no problem. But, when you acquire a customer, the goal is to get as much value out of them and provide as much value to them as possible. So by having an upsell there, that's exactly what you're doing. So with the kind of like cannibalization of the classes, how many classes did you cut out in total now? So how many did you have before? How many do you have now?
So we went from around, I think it was around 30 gym classes on the whole week. We cut that down to about 16, 17, but introduced 17 of the group training classes. Yeah. Again, that sort of prioritised people's, what they were doing in the gym, because they wanted to come at certain times when those classes were on. So it kind of, not forced their hand, but persuaded them to do it and give it a go. And again, once they receive that higher level of service, which obviously comes with a higher level of work and attention that you need to give to them, but again, the money comes with that, then a lot of them stayed on and carried on doing that. Some reverted back, which was fine, but we didn't lose those members because they had a go. They were appreciated having it a go at a cut price. But again, we didn't lose many members off it. If anything, we just gained people that stayed on.
Yeah. And did it actually cannibalise the gym membership in that process? So there obviously fears that it might damage the gym members and that number. Did any of that happen?
No, we feel like we put it to a level where people could still get to a class. There were a few people that had a little bit of a whinge, but that comes with anything, it would change. We're talking single-digit percentage in that. So on the whole, it was quite well received. And the results then started to speak for themselves. You start getting social proof, you start getting social media, people start seeing the results, and if anything, it just creates that buzz. And like you say, the community side, which we were big on anyway, this sort of reinforced that and helped it.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to reinforce community within group training. So maybe you do have a good element of community within the gym when people come and go, but so many people just go into the gym, have their headphones in, they don't speak to anyone, and they're not part of a community. They're just like a lone wolf, which is fine for some people, right? But again, when you're in that class set or group setting, when you're with the same people every week, progressing, it just builds those connections and relationships so much. And kind of final question on like the skepticism of implementing a group training program. What was like the turning point for you where you go, okay, I'm going to give this a go and we're just going to push through with it?
I think one of the major things is in that first program that we did, you see the results and what people are saying to you, and it sounds really corny. It's really rewarding. Like, you are literally changing people's lives with it. Like, they needed that level of service to get where they want to be, and they couldn't really do it off their own back by going to an half-an-hour class where they just get blasted and see you later. But when you're doing the whole package, like everyone in here probably does with PT anyway, when you're giving that on scale to a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of results, and that was one of the main things that's like, we need to push on and carry on with this.
And that's why we're all here at the end of the day, right? To help people, to impact people, and to improve people's lives. And for a lot of people, like, a gym membership isn't quite enough. It gives them the tools to exercise, but some people don't have the knowledge or the structure or accountability to go and get the results that they need to live a happy, better life. When you have a program that gives them the accountability, the structure, and the reward, more people will get results. And also those results will create more social proof and create more clients, more referrals off the back of that. But I also think the bottom line is just super rewarding to see that someone spent a block of time training with you and they've got an amazing result, and you see their life change for the better. And again, it does sound a bit corny, right? But like, I'm sure you've probably had loads of conversations with people saying like, my life's better because I spent time in this program.
Yeah, 100%. There's people that we quite regularly, we've had people that have been on since day one, so that's like a year and a half now, and they're still on the program paying that money because they're getting the results. And often what we do is when they're feeling a bit down or they're having a bit of a plateau, which happens to everybody, we get their first photo back up and then their current one, and it just clicks them back onto in the zone, really, because they're getting the results. So you've still got that social proof to fall back on as well. And so again, with the service you provide, it helps retain those people going forward.
Yeah. So let's kind of like get into like the nitty gritty, the implementation. So you've decided you're going to go for a higher led coaching service in the gym. What's the first steps to kind of getting that started and getting that created?
Well, so one of the first steps was making sure we had our process and our sales systems right, and making sure we could get people on board. Obviously, the marketing side is big, so you've got to get people in to do it. How it structures on the timetable, making sure we're well staffed to deliver the service was one of the big challenges. Obviously, we've got a gym to run, but then at the same time, you're then almost creating a new business within a business. The amount of time that per client for a gym member to per client on the group training is obviously a lot higher. So it's making sure we had our processes and times right, making sure we had good adverts and good marketing out there, but being patient with it was probably one of the big things.
Yeah, so kind of getting those foundations in place, just ready to go up there. And then you called the, it was called Project U, the program, right?
Yeah, Project U.
Yeah, and so for anyone that's like looking to create a service, like I wouldn't just call it, we do small group training. Like I would kind of give it some sort of name that reflects on the individual that they're going to take part on. Because every time Terry runs this now, it's always Project U. The marketing campaign might be different, it might have a different message there, but it's always coming into the Project U program, and essentially it just says, you know, this is time you're going to spend on yourself, improving yourself, and making yourself better. So let's kind of talk about the marketing. So we started with internal marketing, and we managed to fill out all the spaces. And how many spaces were there initially?
We had originally aimed to get 30, and we ended up with 111.
111?
Off the first campaign. Yeah.
Of the first campaign, purely internally?
Internal and then a little bit of external, which I had to cut it off.
Cool. If you don't mind telling people here, and just kind of like rough ballpark, how much was that front end, internal?
It was at 197 for 8 weeks we started at. We run at 147 for 6 now, but originally it was 197 for 8 weeks.
So 197 for 8 weeks, and over 100 of those sold. My maths is terrible in my head. Do you know roughly what that was altogether, front end?
Just short of 20k gross.
20k. So created with zero marketing spend off current members, 20k cash in the bank from the existing gym members already in the walls. Everybody here who has gym members can implement this and do it quite easily and effectively. What was like the specific marketing you did? Like were there emails, texts, conversations? Like kind of run through that process with me.
So internally, we've got a decent amount of people in our sort of private Facebook group for the gym. So that was the first step. The second step was then going out to our members by email and offering them a cut price for the first session, for the first course. Yeah. And then the next one was running a campaign with FMA. So obviously, I don't want to steal your thunder, but FMA have got a lot of different campaigns that they can use, and obviously we spoke to you about what would work best, A, that time of year, B, for our demographic, and C, for sort of the price point as well. So we are in a working class area, so we had to make sure we were competitively priced, because price is important, but what we found is that people do seem to put their health and stuff above the price. So that was a bit of an eye-opener for us. We were kind of underpricing ourselves at first, but then we realised that, you know, people would pay for it if the service is right. But you just got to make sure you put the time into the service.
Yeah, and some people here may have some skepticism. They might be thinking, the current economic climate, no one's going to pay that much in my area. But look, as Terry just said, Terry works in a working class area, and we're all within these times together. But Terry still manages to intake masses of clients on a high price. So no matter where you are in the UK, there are people that are willing to invest in their health and fitness. And as soon as you start to believe that, that's when it will start to happen there as well. So just to recap, so it was Facebook posts in the private group, it was emails, and it was just a little bit of a reduced offer.
Yeah, basically, that's what worked well to fill the first course. Now, obviously, once we filled it, we had to sort of look forward to when that course was ending, or when that first intake was ending. And at first, we ran sort of set start and end dates so we could try and manage it. But now we run intakes every Monday, so we've constantly got ads up and down just to try and fill spaces if we get people that tail off or sort of leave the program. So we're at a point now where we can sort of flex up and down as we need to keep a constant sort of cash flow coming in.
Yeah, and how many kind of now? So you had the launch, which was 100, which is quite a big boom. I doubt it's 100 every time now. But what's the kind of intake you get every time you run a new kind of course, essentially?
So we run on average at around 75, 80 on large group, and about 30 on small group. Yeah.
And so when you do a new intake, let's say it's January, how many more are you able to take on now because of that?
We'd probably be able to flex up by another 30 if we wanted to and needed to. A lot of the time it's having time in ourselves and managing our own diaries to make sure that we're getting in touch with leads that are coming in and calling those leads and converting those leads. That's probably the biggest challenge in terms of time. But like I say, if we wanted to and we were focused on it, we could flex up by probably another 30 space-wise. Now that we've got that space, it's just a case at the minute with holidays and things like that. It's a bit of a pain.
Yeah. So throughout the year, how many kind of new people every year? You've been running just over a year now, about 18 months. But so in terms of those front-end sales, how many do you think you kind of on an evergreen basis are making at a yearly rate now?
We're probably on recurring, you're talking around about 80, 90k gross.
So kind of all front end, just additional into the business. And that's kind of not even taking into consideration the people that are still with you, right, on that recurring basis. So new front end sales, but then also the people that are staying monthly, it's a massive chunk of revenue. And I put up there about 50% of the gym memberships. Was that correct?
Yes, about right.
Nice, perfect. So what I want to touch on as well is that how this has helped, and we did mention it earlier, but more gym memberships within the gym from marketing the higher end program. So obviously there's a nice collateral there, right, where you market the higher coach-led service. Maybe you speak to someone and they can't afford it, but then it'll be pushed down. So how has having this higher coaching service also helped the memberships as well?
It does help a lot, because I think speaking to a lot of other FMA clients who might not have the group facility, whereas a lot of people in here would, when you're talking to someone who can't afford it, you've always got that backfall of what about doing a gym membership, getting them in for a trial and that sort of thing, and that can sometimes appeal to them, and then they're getting in the gym and then you can try and upsell again later down the line. So it works that if you have got a gym, you've got that safety net. And I think in terms of numbers, we're probably talking out of those what we've currently got it's probably about 800 now in terms of gym members. Out of them, it's probably around 100 are ex-group training, so they want to come in the gym in the first place, but obviously they're now there as gym members.
Yeah, and it's what Terry said there, it kind of relates to the customer journey. So let's say there's a member that's been with Terry for 2 years. Let's say they started on a gym membership, they did Project U, they started to get results, they then stopped doing the coaching service, maybe they wanted to save a bit of money, they then go back to the gym membership, then summer's come around the corner, they go, I'll hop on Project U for 8 weeks just to kind of make sure I can put extra effort in. Then they do that, and they go back to gym membership. So it'll actually help improve that kind of customer lifespan there as well. So we've kind of covered the internal marketing, and actually before we get to the external, what was the sales process like? So someone replied, said, look, I'm interested. What's the process? What's the next step from there?
Calling them as soon as possible. So as soon as that person registers an interest or declares an interest, that's as warm as they're going to be. So it's a case of getting on the phone as quick as you can and going through the sales scripts, which obviously you guys provide. So going through the sales scripts, selling the product, converting them, getting the payment, and then getting them into the onboarding process. So as soon as you can, get on the phone to them.
Yeah, and you would take payment over the phone and get them signed up. It wouldn't be like a consult process. So just one call close, upsell in there.
Yeah, we one call close, so we close in one call.
And I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I imagine with those gym members, if you've already got their payment details on file, could you just go ahead and charge the existing payment details?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that will probably be same for quite a lot of people here, right? If you're doing internal marketing, it's very effortless if you don't even need to take a card over the phone. You just need to say, yeah, I'm in, and then they'll go and you can go charge the card that's on file and then just take it from there. So like a really smooth, seamless transition. Now, let's kind of switch over to the external marketing, right? Because you can only internally market for so long. So what was kind of like the first campaign, and how many leads and inquiries did you get come into the gym within like a 30 to 60 day window?
Yeah, I can't actually remember the name of the campaign now, but it was us stood on a local sort of landmark, which is a massive wheel, just talking and saying we want 15 people to come in for a program. And I think off the back of that, we had maybe, it was crazy, I think we went up to like 150 leads or something like that.
And was that in like the first week or?
Yeah.
So first week, 150. And I think total numbers of that was about 1,000 leads over the time or something crazy.
Yeah. A really sort of low cost per lead as well. So I think we were coming in at like £1.50 a lead, maybe less.
Yeah, and this is by the way, like in a time where a lot of people don't believe Facebook ads work anymore. iOS 14 costs are getting higher. Terry got leads at £1.50, and still to this day, I think your cost per lead is still around the £2-3 per lead mark, right?
Yeah, we've just run a beginners campaign, and I think it's 112 leads came through that in the last month.
Amazing, yeah, and. With all these leads, so about 1,000 leads were generated in that first campaign. Now, you're going to get a lot of people that buy and fill up the program, which they did, but all those other leads can now be marketed to and nurtured to over a long period of time, because someone that opts in today may not buy this week, next week. They may buy 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the line, but that first touch point was that ad. And then when they eventually do actually get in touch with the gym, they'll be like, I've been seeing your ads for ages, I opted in, I did this, and they were taken through this, nurture sequence of marketing that gets them over the line. Because not everyone wants to buy straight away, right? You got to remember, I had a good conversation with someone earlier that told me 14% of the UK have a gym membership. That's a massive gap, and the rest of the people are probably terrified of exercise. When you think about the consumer, of how scared they are to walk into a gym, it takes a lot of courage for someone that doesn't have any experience, and I think we forget that sometimes. So those leads that have opted in, later on down the line, they will eventually flourish into a brand new customer. So we're going to cover the cost per lead. And so let's kind of talk about the customer journey. So you've got someone that isn't a gym member. They've just signed up to Project U. They've just paid, from start to kind of finish. What happens in that process?
So as soon as they come on board, we've got a CRM system which sends them out an automated text message and email to get them through the onboarding process. They get put in a private Facebook group with the other ladies or the other men, depending on the gender, and then we get in touch with them, and then we go through a process of getting their before pictures and measurements, because we do photos before and after, social proof, but also proof for them. A lot of people like it private, but they want to see the results. We then get them on our class booking app. We do all the admin stuff basically, so they can start booking classes, sessions or whatever. And then they start from day one and they go through. We do weekly check-ins. They do the training. We try and do a little bit in terms of if we don't see them in a certain amount of time, we'll give them a prod, get them back in the gym, that sort of thing. And basically they just go through the process, and we've got a lot of touch points as we go through. The minimal is weekly checkpoints, but we have got automated workflows that send them messages and text messages about water, eating vegetables, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so there's an onboarding process. They go through the sessions, and there's consistent accountability around the sessions, right? How much is automated? How much is kind of you having to manually get in there?
It's probably about 80 to 90% automated, I think.
Awesome. And I think that's the thing, when automating, for clients, right? Automation should be there to trigger a manual conversation. So let's say Terry sends an email from Terry about nutrition, or asks how they're getting on. If they're all great, then you don't really need to step in. But then if someone does have some sort of issue, then that's the indication to actually come in and actually start that manual conversation. So kind of automation is there to trigger a manual conversation if very much needed. Now, on the staffing side of the business, like who's involved in this element of the business? How does it work from the kind of back end all the way to the front end?
So we've got myself and our assistant gym manager, who was just there doing what pretty much everyone else on reception would do at a gym. But we've got her involved in the process, and now she's involved in getting people on board in terms of admin. She does a lot of sales, etc., etc. And we've rewarded her for that. But again, having her do that and taking the burden off just us or me or my wife Tanya doing the sales, that enables obviously X amount of revenue coming in when we're not actually having to do it and we're doing other things or making sales. So we're doing that in parallel. So a lot of people might have the staff in place already to do that, which they can do. We manage with the amount of people we have with sort of 3 of us sharing the admin side. And then the rest of it just comes down to what you'd regularly do in the gym anyway in terms of programming, etc., etc.
Yeah, so when it first started, like obviously there was some work that a lot of work from your side to be put in to get it going, but now you don't have as much of a workload on your shoulders because you've got this staff member who's kind of taken the reins from the training all the way to the admin and sales side, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it can be, sometimes it could be that a lead could come in through the night, but they're already getting engaged through automation while you're sleeping anyway. So, and then they wake up and they're already engaging with the automation, so they're a warmer than warm lead, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then obviously then that staff member can pick that up, get in touch with them, etc., etc. And we've not actually had to do anything, and sometimes they're on board straight away. So that's the way we've managed to get to. It took a lot to get there, but like anything, and like anyone has done in this room, where you open a gym, you put the hard yards in, and then you get the results.
Yeah, and of course there definitely is an element of extra work that's needed when initially implementing this, like any business. But as any business grows and nurtures, systems are implemented, and with systems becomes less reliant on you to have to jump in, have to do like all the manual work yourself there. So how has having this kind of new business within the gym just like helped the business as a whole and helped the gym, and like what you're kind of are you happy you made the decision to add this in after this whole time?
Yeah, one of the things I always think is it helps the demographic of the gym. So in terms of kit and in terms of the layout, we have got a lot of bodybuilding equipment, we've got a lot of weight equipment. But we're still sort of running at sort of a 55-45 split male to female, and a lot of that comes from doing the group training, making it a welcome environment for people to come in, getting women in the gym, feel comfortable doing it in groups, then they can move and transition into the gym if they want to. So that's really helped in that sort of feel of the gym. Obviously on the community side, which we're big on anyway, it's helped in that because they get to know each other, they're on the program together, they're all in it together, that sort of thing. So that really helps. And people obviously then post it and get their friends involved, etc., etc. So it just sort of grows organically.
Yeah, and I've visited Terry's gym. It's awesome, like the custom-made kit and just every little detail on every piece of equipment. It's really, really impressive. It definitely does have a kind of bodybuilder vibe to it when you walk in. And when you think about the everyday person, is that gym for the gym enthusiast or the everyday person? It's probably more for the enthusiast, right? Because if you love a gym like everyone in this room and myself, you go and you go, wow, that's a really, really cool gym. But if you're a busy professional, you've barely been into a gym and you walk in, you might not feel so welcome. And it's not anyone's fault, it's just preconceptions that individual has. But when you have these services that do hold the client's hand a little bit more, then you can start to really have fun with your marketing. Because before Terry had this service in, he probably couldn't run a beginner's campaign. He probably couldn't run a campaign for people that are 50 plus. It just wouldn't really make sense to get people coming in and, having Margaret next to some, 20 stone jacked geezer. But now because he's got this service and he's got this space, he's able to open up the gym to such a wider market. People that have, so many people in here probably struggle with the 12 to 2 p.m., right? It's dead. But guess who's got free time? Semi-retired Margaret, who's 55 years old and wants to train in her free time. That time slot now gets filled by that demographic there. And he's only able to do that because he has a higher level service into the business as well. So by having more service, you're able to access a wider market there as well. This is the last question I've got, and then we'll open up to Q&A and then call it a day on this. So how has kind of the new section of the business helped the gym grow and kind of improve and scale? So from the kind of numbers to the overall service to the expansion, how's 18 months ago you made that decision, and how has that positively impacted the business?
I think one of the things we've always tried to do is always try to reinvest in the business and make it better for members. And I think introducing this service, if you like, does that as well, so it's reinforced that. That's really helped in terms of perception of the gym and what we do and the effort we try and put into members. So obviously it's helped retention for a start. It's helped results. It's helped social media grow because the results are there. So yeah, it sort of gets its roots into everywhere doing the group PT stuff. It helps the feel of the gym. It helps the vibe. You know, when they've got a session going on in the sort of area we do the classes, and you've got the gym going, you've got the music going, everyone's going. It just helps everything really. Just don't feel dead.
Yeah, amazing. And one final question, actually, which is to anyone like listening right now that maybe is a bit skeptical or kind of thinking, oh, maybe I will, but maybe I'll try it. Like, what you were there, you had those thoughts. Like, what would you say to anyone kind of on the fence, essentially?
Have a chat with you guys. Have a chat with you. Obviously, you've got I sound like this is pre-race. You've got the momentum side. So we're like what's called an up-level customer. You've got momentum where you can do sort of 3 months with FMA. So you're not sort of committed for a full sort of year. But I'd definitely say go in with sort of all guns blazing and try the 3 months if it's something you're wanting to try and implement. I'm happy to have a chat with anyone as well from a completely neutral point of view. I'm not getting any commission for this. I wish I could, but I'm not.
It is true. He's getting zero commission for this. He's just come down as a favour. But massive thank you for Terry, guys. I know there's only a few people here, but can we just get a round of applause to Terry? He's come all the way down from Bradford, so thank you very much. Guys, does anyone here have any questions about the coaching service in the business? Does anyone have any questions or want to know anything at all?
Hi. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to Terry. We went to him about 6 months ago. didn't own a gym, just 2 teachers and a firefighter, and he spent the time showing us around his gym and giving us the confidence to open our own. So, woo! Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
My question is, so you run your 8-week Project U. How many classes do you provide in each week of the 8 weeks?
So a lot of places limit. We don't limit. We say up to 5. People can't generally recover after doing 5 sessions in the week anyway.
Yeah.
They're not. There's no athletes coming on this, so you know what I mean. So we generally say to people, try and start with 3, see how your recovery is, scale up to 4. If you can do 5, do 5, that sort of thing. So we try and run them at sort of the times which work best. So for example, on our large group, you've largely got sort of professionals, parents, that sort of thing. So we run a really early morning, we run a sort of an after school one, and then a couple of evening ones, and that sort of covers all bases. And like what Charlie was saying there, then for our over 50s, we try and run them at the sort of different times where there's a bit of a dead space in the gym, so 11 till 2s. We still run all early mornings and evenings for those, but we find we can sort of get better utilisation in those dead hours, but also the coaches are free to do it in that time because they're usually dead as well.
And so there's a difference between large group and small group PTs there?
Yeah, so we market our large group, every gym's different, but we personally, we market our large group to women 30 plus.
Yeah.
We market to men, but we don't get men into classes because we find it's like herding cats. It's like, they're on a shift and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So with what Terry said there, so with a higher coaching service, typically we will market to people that are 30 plus. So people that are younger than that, their finances probably aren't all in check, maybe late 20s, but you don't want to be marketing, £167 a month to an 18-year-old, right? They're going to be much more fit for the gym. And again, that coaching service is for the busy professional who doesn't really like exercise but knows they need to do it. So yeah, we'll typically go for over 30, and also we market separately. So we'll market to women, and we'll market to men as well. Men and women kind of have different wants and needs in terms of a female may want to get a bit more toned, or a guy may want to get lean, but a woman may not necessarily want to get lean. Generally speaking, that is. So we market differently and separately, and there's definitely pros and cons to marketing to each. Like Terry said, if you're on a sales call with a guy and you're like, hey, what do you want to achieve? It's like, just lose a bit of weight. And how come? Because I'm fat. They won't really. But then if you speak to a female, and again, it's all generally speaking. I know everyone's very different, but on a call with a female, that they're a bit more open to kind of open up about what's actually going on and be a bit more truthful to how they're actually feeling. So there's definitely those pros and cons. Does anyone else have any more questions at all about everything? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Guys, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.